Did you know that up to 80% of processed foods in the United States contain genetically modified organisms, or GMOs? From the corn in our cereal to the soy in our tofu, GMOs have become a ubiquitous yet often invisible part of our food system. These crops are not the product of traditional breeding techniques, but rather the result of scientists directly manipulating an organism's genetic code in a laboratory setting. While proponents tout increased yields and reduced pesticide use, concerns linger about potential long-term health effects and environmental impacts. This issue is particularly relevant to farmers who face increasing pressure to adopt these genetically engineered seeds. The debate over GMOs is complex and often heated, with passionate voices on both sides. As informed citizens, it is our responsibility to understand the science, weigh the risks and benefits, and make conscious choices about the food we eat and feed our families. This essay aims to provide a balanced and accessible overview of GMOs, exploring the science, the controversies, and most importantly, how we can navigate this complex landscape to make informed decisions about our food. What exactly are GMOs? In simple terms, a GMO is an organism whose genetic material, or DNA, has been altered in a way that does not occur naturally through mating or natural recombination. This process typically involves inserting genetic material from a different organism, such as a bacterium, into the target crop. The primary goals of genetic modification in agriculture are to enhance desirable traits like pest resistance, herbicide tolerance, and increased nutritional value. Some of the most common GMO crops include corn, soybeans, canola, cotton, and sugar beets. These crops often find their way into a wide array of processed foods and animal feed, making them a significant part of our food chain. While the technology behind GMOs is complex, the underlying principle is relatively straightforward: to engineer crops with specific traits that benefit farmers and consumers. However, as with any new technology, it's crucial to carefully examine the potential consequences alongside the purported benefits. The global landscape of GMO cultivation and consumption is varied and constantly evolving. The United States, Brazil, and Argentina are the top producers of genetically modified crops, with soybeans, corn, and cotton being the most widely grown. Adoption rates in Europe are significantly lower, with stricter regulations and greater consumer skepticism. Interestingly, the United States has no federal requirement for labeling GMO foods, making it difficult for consumers to know what they're buying. This lack of transparency has fueled consumer distrust and calls for mandatory labeling laws. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization released a comprehensive report in 2023, stating that while currently available GMOs are safe for consumption, continued monitoring and research are crucial. The debate over GMOs extends beyond health concerns, encompassing environmental impacts, ethical considerations, and the influence of powerful agricultural corporations. Understanding the global context and differing regulatory approaches is crucial for making informed choices about GMOs. One of the most contentious aspects of the GMO debate centers around potential health risks. Critics argue that the long-term effects of consuming GMOs are still unknown, and that genetic modification could lead to unforeseen consequences, such as increased allergenicity or the development of antibiotic resistance. Proponents, on the other hand, point to the lack of conclusive evidence linking GMO consumption to adverse health outcomes. They emphasize that all GMO crops undergo rigorous safety assessments before being released into the market. However, independent research on the long-term health effects of GMOs is limited, and many studies are funded by biotechnology companies, leading to concerns about bias. The 2023 WHO report, while affirming the safety of currently approved GMOs, also acknowledged the need for continued monitoring and research, particularly in light of emerging concerns related to the gut microbiome and the use of herbicides like glyphosate in conjunction with GMO crops. Section 5. Traditional breeding versus genetic engineering, a tale of two methods. To fully grasp the implications of GMOs, it's essential to understand how they differ from traditional breeding practices. Traditional breeding involves selecting and crossing plants with desirable traits over multiple generations. This process, though slower, relies on natural mechanisms of genetic variation and selection. Genetic engineering, on the other hand, allows scientists to make precise changes to an organism's DNA in a much shorter time frame. While this precision can be beneficial, it also raises concerns about unintended consequences. Critics argue that genetic modification may introduce new allergens or disrupt natural ecosystems in ways that traditional breeding does not. The debate over GMOs often boils down to a fundamental question. Should we be tampering with the building blocks of life, or should we rely on nature's slower, more evolutionary approach? The answer, as with most complex issues, is not always clear-cut. Section 6, Glyphosate and Beyond. Unraveling the pesticide connection. One of the primary arguments in favor of GMOs is their potential to reduce pesticide use. However, this claim is not as straightforward as it seems. Many GMO crops are engineered to be resistant to herbicides like glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup. This resistance allows farmers to spray fields with glyphosate, killing weeds without harming the GMO crop. While this may seem beneficial at first glance, it has led to a dramatic increase in glyphosate use, with potentially harmful consequences for human health and the environment. Glyphosate has been linked to various health problems, including cancer, and its widespread use has contributed to the emergence of glyphosate-resistant weeds, creating a vicious cycle of increased herbicide application. The connection between GMOs and pesticides is complex and raises important questions about the trade-offs between agricultural efficiency and environmental sustainability. It also highlights the need for integrated pest management strategies that go beyond relying solely on herbicide-tolerant crops. Section 7. The Gut Check, Exploring GMOs and Our Microbiome. One area of emerging research that is causing concern is the potential impact of GMOs on the human gut microbiome. The gut microbiome, a complex ecosystem of trillions of bacteria residing in our digestive tract, plays a crucial role in digestion, immunity, and overall health. Some studies suggest that the herbicides used in conjunction with GMO crops, such as glyphosate, may disrupt the balance of bacteria in the gut microbiome. This disruption, known as dysbiosis, has been linked to a range of health problems, including inflammatory bowel disease, autoimmune disorders, and even mental health issues. While more research is needed to fully understand the complex interplay between GMOs, herbicides, and the gut microbiome, these findings underscore the need for caution and continued investigation into the potential long-term consequences of GMO consumption. Section 8. Navigating the grocery aisle. Tips for the conscious consumer. In a world where GMOs are prevalent and labeling is inconsistent, how can consumers make informed choices about the food they purchase? While avoiding GMOs entirely can be challenging, there are steps you can take to minimize your exposure and support a more transparent food system. One option is to look for products labeled Non-GMO Project Verified, which indicates that the product has been independently verified to meet rigorous standards for GMO avoidance. You can also choose organic products, as the use of GMOs is prohibited in certified organic agriculture. Another important step is to become a more conscious consumer by reading labels carefully, asking questions at restaurants, and supporting local farmers markets, where you can often find GMO-free produce and meat products. Section 9. Knowledge is power, your right to know and choose. The debate surrounding GMOs is not about being pro or anti-science. It's about transparency, choice, and the right to know what's in our food. As consumers, we have a powerful voice. By staying informed, asking questions, and demanding mandatory GMO labeling, we can urge for a more transparent and accountable food system. Knowledge is power. By educating ourselves about GMOs, we can make conscious choices that align with our values and prioritize our health and the health of our planet. Let's use our voices and our wallets to support a food system that is good for people and the planet. The future of food is in our hands. Let's choose wisely.